Two slides. And you go forward 2 slides. Come on.
You know why?
What it was like 5, it was 25, 5, you couldn't stop it. All of them start popping up.
No, I think that's just on YouTube though.
I know they said it was on YouTube.
I couldn't.
But she couldn't stop the first one, so then it came on.
Mm-hmm.
It was covering my timer.
Oh yeah.
And I couldn't get it to move. Like, it's not my timer, but you'll put it on the top. You just put it on the timer. I figured that out.
I was like, what? I was going to pay attention.
Be quiet.
I'm gonna get my chime.
I'm gonna turn the air down. I mean,
That's like lights. No, but
Light instead lights.
but she says, like, no, I say cut the lights off. And she says, turn the light off. Well, I say cut the light off. And she's like, why do you say that? I'm like, well, because in essence, you cut the power to the light. You know?
Amelia can, Bedelia can come in with hers.
That's right. We have a new book out, it's like no COVID, no. No big, no.
Oh.
That's all. Whatever that, terrible, Ms. Nelson teaching digital.
What?
Ms. Nelson's virtual teaching?
Shut up.
Yeah, it's called Ms. Nelson's virtual teaching.
Susan, hey, did you read those? Did you read that Facebook thing that Efficacy started? Oh, somebody told her to retire.
Not somebody. Not somebody.
Who is that lady? She told her to retire, Steph. She goes, well, then retire.
Yeah, because Susan Nancy's not working right now. So she's like, I mean, not Susan Nancy.
Yes.
Carol now.
Hey, Susan Nancy's on.
Oh, what?
She's on. You don't tell me to retire.
Is this your temple? Temple.
Yeah. It's because they don't want to do that meet and greet thing.
Right,
Or they think it's equal to being in a class full of kids.
right. It kind of is. I thought it was gonna be like a slow thing, but if you talk about a parent and a child for 45 minutes, unless I'm star. Oh, if they did that, I got the impression that they thought they were gonna be large quantities in the room.
No, they were saying circulation.
Yeah.
Every teacher had a family on campus.
Mhm.
But I mean,
Yeah.
basically get over yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Are you on?
Yep.
Okay.
One of them is in the military now.
We have one on.
Yeah.
It got ugly. Let me answer it.
Oh, you're not my co-host? Thought I made you a co-host. Where are you? I don't even see you. There we go. Thanks. How do I share hosting? I forgot.
Oh, you set yours ahead.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do?
Hold on.
How do I make her a co-host? Now I forgot.
So I want to have, don't let anyone in yet. Steph, I want to do something right
Wait,
now.
I think I got it.
Okay, so if I share my screen, right?
Mhm.
Steph, hold on, I'm going to share this really quick.
What? I gotta go somewhere. Move that bar, grab the black
Wait.
space.
Okay, so if I'm on here, right? How do I move this
Grab
bar?
the black space, grab empty space. Grab
Like,
empty
where's
space.
empty? This? It wouldn't move earlier.
Put it at the top.
Oh, because you have to move it from the, no, then I can't see my tabs. You have to get in between on the lines. Like if I go here, oh, I wouldn't move it earlier. Okay, do you want me to admit these people?
Yes.
Steph? Okay.
Hey, did you want to look up the?
Yes. Hey, Steph, can I just admit all?
Mm-hmm. I don't care.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Oh, wait, you guys can still hear me? Should I turn my computer? Or no? Steph?
Hmm?
Should I mute my sound?
Yes.
So we don't have an echo? Okay, don't make me talk. There we go.
And I'm just saying it would.
I forgot how to make my sound, my video play sound.
Oh, click, share screen.
Oh, advanced, huh?
No, go to the box.
Oh, I see it. No, it's behind. I have this like extra Bose speaker thing. Anyways, I'm not muted. I think I'm telling everybody about that.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. We will get started in 2 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see the link to the presentation we'll be using.
Satisfying December. That's not. Wait, no, not yet.
Are you muting? Yeah, or I can.
Okay, now. Did you hear that? Is that satisfying? No. Okay, what about when I
Sorry. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. Good afternoon, everyone. I am just going to take care of a little bit here. If you are on 2 devices, that's really easy to follow along. If you are on 1 device, I'm just going to give you a moment here. The best way to follow along on Zoom is to go over by your X and minimize your screen a little bit. That way you can have your Zoom meeting up, but if you're working in your Google Drive, you can also have your Google Drive available and anything you need to do on the internet available. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that, make your Zoom meeting a little smaller. And then when you do that, if you could give me a little thumbs up or got it in the chat so we know that's working out for you. We'll get started in just a moment. And then other thing is the link for this presentation is up on the left of your screen. Oh, when I share my screen again, it will be up. And it's also in the chat. Good to see so many faces today. All right, and it's 1:01, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. The link here, if you're not in the presentation, will be on the slide for a few more times. It looks like you guys are okay and you'll be able to navigate with Zoom and the internet. So my name is Stephanie Berry and I have Chrissy from Curriculum. We're back in the office, so she's way on the other side of the room, facilitating with attendance and questions in the chat room if you have anything. So we're going to start with a video from our Deputy Superintendent, and then we will get going. If you don't hear this video, please let me know if there's no sound. Oh, fine. Let me fix the sound. Do you see it? Where is it again, Chrissy? Sorry, guys.
Go to, go back, unshare, stop sharing first.
Yeah, see, I thought I selected it.
Okay, so go to that. No, click on that. Now go move that.
Oh,
and it's
that's right,
down
I
there.
didn't select it yet. Okay.
Now you should be good.
All right, thanks. I'm in trouble when I'm asking Chrissy for tech help.
To Summer Virtual Institute.
Here we
I
go.
appreciate and thank all of you for joining us this week and willing to learn with us as we lean into a new year of learning with our students. This is not the instructional program that we had hoped to accomplish this year in terms of our students starting the year in a virtual format. But I believe that together we will build a strong instructional program to support the students of our district. So I want to speak a little bit about the importance of this week's learning with respect to our instructional program and emphasize a couple of key points for us before we start today. First and foremost, I'd like to emphasize the importance of understanding what the state is requiring of school districts this year, in that there are a set number of instructional minutes that we must adhere to. It is our goal that through the virtual nature of our instructional program over the first quarter, that we can rise above and beyond those minimum minutes, ensuring that our students receive ample in-person to the best of our ability instruction, meaning synchronous learning, where we are zooming in with our students online, supporting them, teaching them, equipping them with the skills to be successful in this virtual format. And then we are also balancing that with what we call asynchronous time, where we are assigning kids to complete assignments through many of our instructional tools and resources, while we as teachers and educators work in small groups with students who simply need more time with intervention. And so you are going to receive a lot of information from our instructional services support team. You are going to receive a lot of tools and resources to support you with the instructional design of our program for this year. Just know that we're in this together. Let's support each other. Let's be there for each other, and let's work together to make the very best and strongest instructional program for our students. So once again, thank you very much. I look forward to learning with you this week, and I look forward to a successful school year. Thank you.
Okay, so we are back. All right, so it's appropriate to follow up the Deputy Superintendent with her core priorities. And really, I think that what's going to be important for us this year is that culture of collective efficacy, believing that we can do something about our situation and then working together to make it better, and believing in that power of working together. We also have a culture of teaching and learning, which is kind of what we'll be talking mostly about today. And then our culture of student-centered schools, as well as that culture of access and inclusions, because we want to support all learners. So with that, a little housekeeping here, just for your information. This session will be recorded. I was hoping not to have to record it, but last night's was awful, so we need to record this one. Attendance will be taken at the beginning of the session. Participants will be let in during the first 20 minutes, but if you're after that, we will not let anyone later than that come in. I will say if you get kicked out, go ahead and wait in the waiting room if you get your Wi-Fi drops or something. And then Chrissy has a list of your names, so she knows who was here, and then she'll let you back in. At the end of the session, you will find an evaluation and a sign-out form. This is important because it's for payroll purposes. So please do not leave early before you get that sign-out form. And then lastly, we have a digital parking lot. So it might be a good idea to just write this down, go.bcsd.com/BS. And then if you have any questions that come up or arise that we really can't answer, you can go ahead and type those on that parking lot. And we'll be turning that in at the end of these 2 weeks. With that, let's go ahead and move into some fun. So we're going to start with a little scavenger hunt. Now, this is a great thing to do with kids. You can get to know them this way. They can bring their favorite something. They can bring something that's red, something that starts with the letter M, or whatever it is. For us, this isn't going to be one of those race scavenger hunts where you find the most things. You just need to bring back one of these things. We'll use these later for grouping. So we're going to give you a minute, and then the first one you find, the closest one, just bring it back. When you get back, write your first name, your last name, your school site, and the name of the object you found in the chat box. So go ahead and get started. You have 1 minute. Up, so let's see what you have with you in the chat. Oh, nope, not again. Okay. A lot of oven mitts and lip balm. Well, yeah, our air is very dry, so lots of lip balm.
Sorry, I'm not sure where to type my name. Can you repeat that again or show with the
Sure. So do you have that black bar in the at the top of your screen with like video mute?
View option?
There's the 3 dots on that little Zoom screen that has all the little things, and one of them, if you hover over those 3 dots, you should see the chat.
Let's see.
And then sometimes you have a little box with the talking, like a little speech bubble that says chat, depending on your computer. Were you able to find it?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Okay. So go ahead and, if you can, just keep that object at your computer, by your computer. We will use it later to group ourselves. And let's go ahead and talk about our norms. So really, these are our norms: safe space to learn. Feel free to ask questions. Have your technology ready. That might even be a pencil and paper if you like to take notes, and have that technology so you can move between Zoom and the internet. Approach the session with an openness to figure out what works. We're just here to illuminate a few possibilities to you, and we know once we get you thinking and talking that you're going to think of even better things than what we're showing you here. And some things we'll show you don't work for your students. You've tried them out and you might have to adjust them. But in this time especially, it's all about finding the possibilities. Engage and participate fully. Be the Zoom student that you want to have in your class. And then we will mute you on entry, and if you need to talk, go ahead and unmute yourself or use the chat feature to ask questions. And then at the end, I'm going to repeat this because I want to make sure you all get paid. Complete the evaluation and sign out when you are finished. With that, we'll talk about our purpose today. Today we're going to learn how to support learning through a balanced literacy framework in any context. And we'll be successful when we understand essential learning for our students and can find and create resources to support that learning. We had a lot of challenges, as I'm sure you're having challenges now, just with really conceptualizing what is school going to look like, and getting over our own disappointment in not having things the way they were. And this was my favorite quote I saw on Twitter this is from Chris Gaines at Port. And he reminded us of the book We're Going on a Bear Hunt, where they're always like, you can't go over it, you can't go under it, we'll just have to go through it. And the only way we can get past this year is to go through it. So we're here to support you, to help you to learn, think, innovate, and do what we can and make it the best for our kids so we can get through this year in the best way possible. So moving along here, I'm going to give you a little why. When I would say in March and April, when our team was meeting, we were really researching, what do you do about the learning loss? You know, our students have mixed school. Of course, at this point, we're thinking we'll all be back in school in August, but how are we going to mitigate that learning loss? And so in our research, what we found was it doesn't work to go back to the last few months of first grade and then move on then, because we're never going to accelerate past. That doesn't get us from being behind. The recommendations were to narrow the learning, to narrow the scope of the learning, to make sure you're spending your time on what's most essential, and then using the time you build by, you know, cutting some of the fat, using some of that time to backfill and fill those gaps in prerequisite skills that people will be using. So we will not be going back to the last few months of first grade, but we hope we will have a path for you to help mitigate some of this learning loss, although we realize it's going to take a couple years to undo what has happened. And then, so after we did that, we created a narrowing of the learning. And then the last thing we did is, so what are those resources? What can we provide teachers? Our director made probably one of the best decisions at that point last year. And she said, whatever we prepare, we are going to prepare for full virtual learning. Because you can take virtual learning and move it into the classroom a lot easier than taking classroom learning and moving it to a virtual platform. So what we will show you today is what has been created, some resources for you as you are teaching virtually. And with that, we did mention that we will be using a balanced literacy framework, but it will be somewhat imperfect. Read aloud and shared reading, you'll see, work pretty well in balanced literacy. Independent reading and conferences work pretty well if you can get them some digital books. Guided reading probably suffers the most, and you see we kind of faded it out there. And although you can do small group reading and we can encourage you, we're not going to have the type of assessment that's really going to get an accurate, even if when we assess our students, we're not going to get that up close shot of what they can and cannot do. Additionally, with guided reading, what we also need to realize is we're not going to be able to observe them, and we're not going to be able to support their struggle as much. So if you do small group reading, you might be showing a little more support, like shared reading, and you might also be giving them a text that's closer to their independent reading level. And when you do this, students don't need quite as much support, and you can help them in that way. I am going to move on to really kind of the first thing we really created. And I'm sorry, this is a first and second grade presentation. So I'm going to move to the next slide, which shows second grade. And this is the essential learning standards. This is the first 3 weeks of school, the learning that we had created. And I talked to you about narrowing that learning. So with the idea of narrowing the learning in mind, go ahead and read this kind of first 3 weeks of learning for ELA. And then just add in the chat maybe what you noticed, but certainly what you are wondering about this. So let's give a few minutes to look at that and add your comments to the chat, and then we'll share out. Mike. I know there's probably a lot of wonderings about the assessment calendar. I will say to the group that is still being kind of hashed out. We had one assessment for a hybrid model, and then we went all virtual, and it's being changed. And by the way, this is the first page with the first 3 weeks. In just a few minutes, we will link you to the folder where you can dig a little deeper into this document. I just want to make sure we kind of understand and recognize everything by looking at one page closely first. Couple questions I'm seeing that the group might want to know. One is in reference to the prerequisite skills. Really, these are things you can kind of assess or ask students to do to see how they're doing on that, as well as you may teach them. So absolutely. So when you're introducing a read aloud, you might want to try this one first, see where they are, understand where they are, and then you can move on. The other question we had are about access to benchmark text. I can't really answer that completely right now. I know there's work going on to get students pencils and Chromebooks, obviously. as well as like some notebooks and crayons. But we're not sure what access to the books they'll have and how comfortable parents will be coming to pick them up, even if they have the opportunity. So everything we've created as if the students don't have access to those materials. Then if they have access, even better. Collaborative conversations are going to be somewhat different, right? It's not like they're going to get to share with a partner. I mean, maybe at some point they can use a Zoom chat room, but it's not like they're going to get to share with a partner. So they will be whole group conversations, and there will be times when it's probably appropriate to pull half or a quarter of your class to use those collaborative conversations. And they'll almost come through Zoom etiquette, right? Because students will have to learn turn taking and whatnot and listening. And you can still ask students to build on to what each other says. Okay, so I hope I answered at least most of your questions. I do want to give you a chance to really take a look at this document. We're going to go to the next page here. I really just want to kind of point out a couple things before we go. We have the essential question here. So this is the essential question for the district unit. The standards are the same. The standards you see here are the standards that have been in this page. They've just been broken down into smaller chunks. So in essence, we took these standards and then these reading behaviors that were there, and we combined them. We combined them to really give students just a little, give you guys a little more of a direction and a little more path of what that learning could look like. And we use the essential question to drive that work. And then the blue ELD standards have been added also. So with that, we're going to take a few minutes to explore. And Chrissy, if you don't mind taking this top link here, that's the link to the Essential Standards folder. And if you could just go ahead and throw that in the chat. And when you guys get this link to this folder, I'm going to show you what it's going to look like. You're going to have access to all the grade levels, so you'll just find the second grade folder. And then you can open that up, and really the only document inside there is that Essential Standards document. Okay, after you've opened that document, two things I want you to look at before we get going. How has the learning been narrowed? Has it been narrowed? Is it a little more sifted through? And then follow a single strand. So grab comprehension, or look at only writing or only foundational skills, and kind of look at how that lays out. I think the comprehension and the writing, you'll really be able to follow a strand through there. So you have the link to the folder, so go ahead and take a look in there. Find your second grade, like I said, and then take a look at these things while you're looking. I'll give about 3 minutes for that. I'm going to set a timer here. Okay, so I threw these timers in so you would have access to a few video timers, but I found my own daughter, when her teacher gave work, independent work, and set a little timer like that, it was very helpful in directing her. So I use that. So I hope you had a chance to look at these standards and kind of building some understanding. And what I'd like to do now is just really think about how this can be helpful in planning. And then I'd ask you to go ahead and add some of that information. So if you click on this question, or if you go to this link here on the bottom, do you mind throwing that one in the chat, Chrissy? We'll have this document here. We're gonna find an empty cell and then add how it is helpful to you. Oops. I just made a new column so you have lots of spaces. I had a session right before these. Normally I make a new copy.
Hi, this is Deborah. I'm trying to type. It doesn't let me do so.
Huh. Are you in your BCSD account?
Let me double check.
And it could be that someone else's cursor is in your box. So if you go down to the bottom, if you
Sure.
find an empty box, that might help.
I'll do so. Thanks.
I see helpful for even mild, moderate teachers. The prerequisites are helpful. Just kind of pacing throughout the year. Am I on the right track? I know our units are in 12-week chunks, but it's hard to kind of even sequence that out sometimes, or it's time consuming. So some of that work has been done. It's great for PLC time, absolutely. Gives a progression of skills, a beginning and an end, because as you all know, our standards are end of year goals. So yeah, absolutely. So I want to be clear what this is. So these essential standards, these are the guaranteed and viable curriculum for our students. This is what we're saying we're going to make sure our students can do. And in that, how you do it is where your own creativity and your own genius comes into play. So the tight is that we are teaching to these standards, and the loose is how you go about it. But today, I know I hear that some of you are a little overwhelmed. Today we are going to go over some resources, and I hope those resources give you a little assistance and help guide you. I don't know that you won't be overwhelmed, but maybe less. overwhelmed. So, any other questions about the essential standards before we move on?
I have a question about dual immersion. Do we have a specific section addressing dual immersion needs for second grade? Or do we do that additionally to the essential standard?
We do not have a section on the essential standards page that addresses dual immersion. However, when we take a look at some of the resources that I've been talking about, there are resources. So the standards, they would be teaching to the same standards, but the resources are different.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, and I have a question from Kathy about the difference in texts. When you have those shared reading texts, I think in the benchmark units, the ones the students get, there's also a big kind of read aloud book of those. And so that is one thing that is different with your students, is that theirs is written slightly easier. I think that's what you're referring to, Kathy. So the kids' text is a little different than yours. The wording's not exactly the same. If you are teaching one of those texts, you can always open up the kid version on your computer, the student version, and then you guys will have the same exact one. I hope that answered your question.
No, that's not answering my question.
Oh.
The kids' book, second grade only has 2 large books. One about postcards and one about hurricanes. Those are the only big ones we have. What I'm talking about are the small books that all the second graders get, that I'm noticing on the essential standards. It's talking about, first 3 weeks, and then the next weeks it's talking about this unit and this unit. So obviously they're talking about benchmark advanced. When I bring up the benchmark textbooks on my smartboard, which I'm planning on doing because I'm planning on teaching from my classroom, that print, some of the words were different from the books that the kids got, and it was slightly different.
Okay.
It was not easier, it was slightly different.
Okay.
So what I'm wanting to know, kids bring up the text on their Chromebooks, since they're not going to physically get textbooks. Is it going to be what I'm seeing, or because we know that it was slightly different? And second grade teachers, maybe you can tell what I'm talking about.
Okay. Okay, so I think I understand, and I can show you a way. I can show you, you can bring up the student copy so that what you bring up is the same. That's the only suggestion I have for those slight differences. But I do want to make a clarification. These are in 3-week chunks, but the essential questions and the resources that were made have some benchmark and some of our district unit resources. So they are in 3-week chunks, but they do, because we wanted to break them down into smaller bits of time, but they do mirror the district instructional unit. And so with that, we are going to get into a little time of exploration, but we're going to just kind of, that's a lot. I know it's hard. Sometimes it can be stressful about thinking, how am I going to get these students that aren't in my room and who missed a few months of school? How do I get them to meet the standards? And this is all feeling overwhelming to me. So we're just going to do a little bit of mindfulness and get ourselves in a place of kind of relaxation. And then we'll go into the next part of our session, which is exploring the resources that have.
How to gain control of your stressful energy when it gets too high to handle. Close your eyes, listen, and follow along. Or keep your eyes open and follow along that way. It's up to you. Sit tall. You can be on the ground with your legs crossed or in your chair with your feet flat on the floor. Now imagine that you can look up and see the sky. And up in the sky, way up in the sky, is a balloon. If you'd like, you can choose a color for your balloon. Keep the picture of the balloon in your mind. The balloon's string reaches all the way down to your hands. Hold on to the string. Imagine that you can feel the pull of that big balloon. Imagine that the wind pushes it from side to side. Or imagine that the wind actually tries to pull the balloon higher into the sky. Maybe you can feel the gentle tugging of the string in your hands. Now try to bring your balloon down. Be careful to go slowly. You don't want the fragile string to break from pulling too hard or too quickly. Take your time. Imagine that you can gently pull the string, hand over hand. The string collects in a pile at your feet. Hand over hand, pull after gentle pull. The balloon appears to come closer. It might even become easier to bring it down in your mind as it gets closer to you. Keep bringing it down, closer and closer. Some other strings might be longer or shorter than yours, and that's okay. Just bring it down at your speed. Focus on your balloon. Keep bringing it down. Your colorful balloon may now be within your reach. Pretend that you do not need to use the string anymore. You can actually hold the balloon between your hands. Notice if you can feel the balloon in your hands. Be gentle. Imagine that with your next out-breath, you can open your hands and release your balloon. Let it go.
Would it be funny if all your kids were...
Notice in your mind where it goes. It could be different for everyone. Just remain still for a few more moments and watch your balloon drift away.
Relax, think positive, and click here for more mindfulness.
All right, so the end of that relax, think positive scared me a little.
No.
Surprised me. Okay, so we are going to move on, and we're going to start by showing you a lesson exemplar. And one question I get when we get this started is, where is this lesson? We're going to show you an example so you can see what you have available, and then we're going to show you where all of the lessons that were created are so you can explore them. So this is an exemplar of shared reading. I do want to kind of go over these terms synchronous and asynchronous since they seem to be everywhere all the time now. And synchronous, remember, is when students are live. They can ask you a question, they can tell you you're stuck, you can hear their mistake, you can give them feedback. And then asynchronous would be anything the students are doing without you. So there may be times when you take half of your class because it's easier to kind of get everyone to engage, maybe with smaller. And you can assign half of your class something, and then you can have half of your class and you can be teaching a lesson or small groups or however. So that's kind of what these terms are. So when you're thinking of these lessons, we wrote them for asynchronous learning for the most part, what we've created. That does not mean you couldn't take that same lesson plan and teach it live in a synchronous way. Or it may be that I don't have time for all these lessons, so I can give this asynchronous to everybody when they're without me, and I'll do a different lesson when they're with me. So with that, we have a shared reading, and I want to show you kind of how we got started with the planning of these. So we're going to start by looking at this lesson plan. This is a lesson plan that we made, and this lesson plan was not that we expect every lesson to be written this lengthy. This lesson plan was written so that someone who may want to use this lesson can have a one-pager to preview it, see what's there, and see if it's something they want. So this is a shared reading. It's paired with the story Chrysanthemum from our instructional units on week 1. And we're learning in this unit about like solving problems and how characters learn lessons and solve problems. And so this is Crow Learns a Lesson. And so you can see the standard here. This was basically copied and pasted from that essential standards document you saw. So they're reading with accuracy and fluency to support comprehension. And they're going to use multiple sources of information to monitor and search and self-correct when they're solving words. So right here is what's being taught, and it came right from that essential standards page. And when we had lots of people building lessons for us, but the kite was their lessons had to match the learning in that essential standards page. Now, the key features of a shared reading for the people who did this, this was Jocelyn Ventura, who was at McKinley and is at Horace Mann now. She used these: explicit strategy instruction, a focus on print and meaning, open-ended. So these were her shared reading must-haves with this lesson. And then so she took that learning and these must-haves, and then she created a lesson. So when we go through this, I want you to think of that lesson in terms of looking for those meaning and structure and visual cues in order to read accurately and to self-correct. And we're going to open this up. And so this is the slideshow you would have access to, and what she has here, she has a video. So when we play the video, it plays the lesson. So. And
today we're solving unknown words in a passage. You will try to read along with me.
Do I have sound?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Or the structure of a sentence and use visual clues. When we're solving unknown words, we have to ask ourselves the following questions. Does that make sense? Does that sound right? And does that look right? Today we'll read a fable together. The title of this fable is Crow Learns a Lesson. I am going to start reading. Try your best to read along with me and try to solve those hidden words. Feel free to point at the words as you read. Once Crow sat in a tree for friends. We have our first hidden word. What word would make sense, sound right, and look right in that sentence? I would like to uncover the first 2 letters of this word to help me out. So let's see. So the first letter is a W, which makes the W sound. The second letter is an I, which makes the I sound. Maybe the word is wishing. I am going to read the sentence again to make sure it makes sense, sounds right, and looks right. Once Crow sat in a tree wishing for friends. Does it sound right? Yes. Does it make sense? Absolutely. And would it look right? Yes. So let's uncover the word and see. It is wishing, which is great. So let's keep reading. All day she called. I have shiny feathers. Come be the friends of the most beautiful bird in the world. Let's look at the word beautiful. Beautiful has full at the end. This is called a suffix. Full means to be full of. The base word is beauty. So the word means full of beauty. I'm going to keep an eye out for words that end with full, and I would like you to do the same. Let's keep reading. But no one wanted to be friends with the boastful crow. Boastful. What does that word mean? I just learned that full means full of something. So what does boast mean? Boast means to demonstrate pride. So the crow is full of pride. But no one wanted to be friends with the boastful crow. Let's keep reading. One day, Peacock said to her, Crow, a friend sees the beauty in others, you know? The next day, Crow said, Bear, you...
Hi, I just realized I was muted as I was telling you all of that. So basically what I was saying, so I didn't finish the video, but I think you got the point. And then the slides below have kind of pictures from this story, and the students are able to reread it, and then they have a question, which you could have them submit the answer to via Flipgrid video or on Google Classroom, however you'd like. So that's an example of what would be in a shared reading lesson. So any thoughts or questions on that at this time?
I wanted to add, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Deborah.
Oh, thanks. I wanted to share how the students and the teacher can is out everyone be able to follow 90% of that part.
Oh, you know what? I'm having a hard time hearing you, Deborah. Did you say, were you saying something about the lesson being easy to follow?
Yes, that for this because of the actual they're going to be involved because of that particular text, the way it's actually synchronized, which is the voice and the text can be basically different multiple intelligences can be together because of doing those two components, the visual and the auditory. And I mean about the lesson.
Yeah, I think it's really beneficial, it's helpful, and you can see that there was some instruction even though it was a video. And so it you know, they were, I think people who worked on these lessons really have that. And someone said, is this that lesson? This is one of the lessons you will have access to, absolutely. So that's kind of where that happens. So again, we're always starting with those essential standards, that essential learning, and then building the lessons through those. And then we are going to go ahead and take a look at the website. I'm going to give you a tour first, just so you can see how everything's organized. And then I'm going to give you guys a chance to tour. So I'm going to go to this link. I'm going to go to grade level lessons, but they're also, I'm going to actually, let me go back. There are how-to tutorials for kids. These are a lot of tech tutorials and a Google Classroom guide. So there are a lot of resources on here, but what this session is for is to cover the ELA lesson. So I'm going to go to second grade, and I'm going to go to ELA. And then I'm going to go to week 1. And just so you know, for week 1 only, we have this week at a glance. We're going to take a closer look at that later. There is a unit opener. So one of the things that's hard is we don't really have a focus wall or a bulletin board, you know, to kind of unite our learning where we can display things. So these unit openers were created, this unit opener. Oh, this is the lesson plan for it. And then if I go back to it, I look up here and it's a slideshow, so I can see the sample of it. Okay, and it's so it has the essential question, and then it kind of talks about paying attention to the mistakes characters make, help us figure out what the author's message is. And really that links to that central message standard. And so there's some questions to spark discussion. So when you read stories, what were some of the mistakes that whatever character made? And this can be repeated each week as you add stories along that theme. And then you can see here they have the pictures of the characters from the books that are in the unit, mistakes made and lessons learned. And this is a tree map. So this is really meant to be a discussion where the teacher would be typing in and students would be giving responses and teacher could be taking notes of those. Students could also participate. So it goes through each of the 6 stories that are outlined and that there are read alouds for. So that's one of the lessons, but you'll see one quick thing about all of these I want to tell you. This is a preview, so you can look at the lesson. Okay. With the title in underline is always going to be the lesson plan. And then if you decide, you know what, I want to use that, you have to go here where it says add slides. So when it says add slides to Google Classroom, you can go like that. It's going to prompt you to make a copy so that you have your own, and then you can put this into a Google Classroom for your students. So that's how all of those work. There's phonics. This phonics does follow the pacing of benchmark. The high frequency words are embedded in the phonics, but if you would also just like them, you can have them separate. And then there's the read aloud, and there's an activity that goes with the read aloud, and then the shared reading that we saw before. And then you also have writing, and you can see this is informational writing. It's week 1, and the presentation is here, and it's connected to what they had read thematically in some way. So that is kind of what you have access to in this website, but I want to give you guys a chance to navigate it. So I'm going to go back here. You're going to get about 3 minutes. And when you're navigating this website, this is not really a time for, you don't have to dig deep into any lesson. We're going to take a moment where you dig deep. We just want to make sure in the website you know how and where to find things. So I'm going to go ahead and set a timer for 3 minutes. Go ahead and explore. Like I said, try to see as much of it as you can so you understand how it's organized, and then we'll dig deep in just a few minutes. Oh, sweet.
Come on.
Okay. So I hope you guys got a chance. People asked about editing this. I do want to say, these are a floor. These are for you to customize. These are for you to inspire you, for you to use them as is, to make them your own, make them shorter, make them longer. So absolutely, if you add them, even when I read them, like every time I write a lesson, when I go back to it, I'm like, why did I ask the question this way? So absolutely, you can change whatever you think is necessary about the lessons. So you had a chance to kind of see how the website was organized. And now what we want to do is give you a chance to really kind of look at a lesson and really see what's available in a context. So remember the scavenger hunt from earlier? What we're going to do now is we're going to let you go explore, but we want you to explore something specific so that you can share what you found with others. So if you have the toothpick, if you brought a toothpick back, you are going to be exploring read alouds. And then if you brought an oven mitt back, you can explore shared reading. We looked at week 1 shared reading, so you may want to start with week 2. If you explored, or if you brought back lip balm or lip gloss, there were a lot of you, you're going to be looking at writing. And writing, week 1 only has 1 assignment because it's an attempt to collect some sort of writing sample. It's a baseline. So you'll want to look at week 1 quickly, but move into week 2 because week 2 will look more like week 3 and 4. And then lastly, foundational skills. So if you have foundational skills, then go ahead and look at the phonics section and see what is available in that. And then when you come back, we're gonna put you in rooms so you can share. So let's take 5 minutes and really get to know what's in your lesson. And I'm gonna do this one silently. In case you need to play a video, you won't have to hear us. Make sure you're muted so you can videos without anyone else hearing.
Stephanie, for the coaster, was it foundational skills?
Yes, I'm sorry, I said glass, it's a coaster, yes. For the coaster is foundational skills.
Ah, egg.
What is 3 plus 4? Check your answer here.
I am sorry for the interruption. I cannot access foundational skills, and I tried to type a comment, but it doesn't open up for me. Thanks.
Deborah, you're having a hard time accessing the foundational skills?
Yes, it doesn't open. I went to the website and also on the slide, and it doesn't have a link. It's an illustration. Did I go to the wrong site?
Okay, are you guys logged into, because someone else is writing in the chat that they can't access it? If you're not logged on under your BCSD account, then you might have a hard time accessing stuff.
Maybe
I'll check it, but.
Thank you. I will double check it too. Thanks.
Okay.
Because they're not on their right account. I'm gonna check it, but I think they're logged into the wrong account.
Is it just the videos? Because if it's just the videos, it might be. Does she just mean the videos though? Because I think sometimes the videos aren't shared. So hold on. I have to go to 1,000,000 folders.
And somebody said she might be confused because she's looking for foundational skills and it's actually no fun.
Yeah, because my link's good.
Deborah, did you figure it out?
No, I am on BCSD. I double checked and I went to the slide. When I click on the icon, it says I can make a copy, but it does not make a copy and I cannot access it. Am I doing something wrong maybe?
When it makes a copy, it's gonna go to your drive.
Okay, I will double check the drive. Thanks.
Isn't it?
Yeah, but it usually opens up.
Stephanie,
Mm-hmm.
this is Vicky Olivas. Would you mind to let Tammy Chancy in, please?
Oh, yes, I got it. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to work on kind of that access in just a few minutes, Deborah. We're going to see if we can get you access, but I'm going to go ahead and have you guys share so that even if you didn't, maybe you'll get to hear from someone who did. Oh. So let me go ahead and advance us along here. When I share my screen, let's see, I'm going to share my screen and then I'll give the directions. Okay, so we're going to go into breakout rooms, and I really just kind of think about that synchronous and asynchronous. Oh, I forgot my mask is still on. Oh, I'm not on video anyhow. Okay, think about that synchronous and asynchronous learning and really how you would want to use what you saw there. And then kind of go through. So you're going to just chat, you know, someone who's looked at read aloud chat, someone who looked at shared reading, someone who looked at writing. So you're going to just kind of take turns and share with each other what you found. And I'm going to go ahead and put you in breakout rooms. Chrissy, can you do the breakout rooms? I just realized something. Oh wait, maybe I can. Oh, I can. I just had to stop sharing. I couldn't find it. Okay, so you're going to get just about 5 minutes in your breakout rooms to kind of share what you saw, and then we will move on from there. I'm gonna set a timer. I let him in.
Is it just us three now? Connie. Oh, no, she could have stayed. I meant me. Send her back. I'll private message her right now. Stephanie, were you already in the session?
Yes, I was, and then I got kicked out of the breakout room. I'm not sure what happened.
Okay, Steph's gonna send you to another one, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh. Sorry, Stephanie, I keep sending you to a breakout room. I don't know why it's not working, but we are going to come back anyhow. So.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna close these rooms without warning, I guess.
You just are
Oh.
gonna bring it back. Sometimes you have a setting though that is already preset that it
You
gives
need to
them.
mute yourself.
I'm sorry.
It is, I have it preset. Good, I didn't like the not warning people, that seemed mean. All right, welcome back. What time? My chat box. Let's see. The hardest thing about these is that all of your boxes cover the things you need to click on. So my chat box is covering the time. I don't know what time it is. Okay. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to keep moving along here. Okay, so we had that opportunity to discuss, and now what I would like to do is take another opportunity and have some people share something they found. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to invite someone who had a toothpick to share their screen and show us what you found. Don't all volunteer at once. Okay, Cynthia.
Okay, so let me share my screen real quick.
And this is read aloud, right?
Yes. Host disabled participant screen sharing. You need to give me.
Let me give you. Try that.
Very good.
Okay.
All right. Let me move you down here. Okay, so I had to read aloud, so it came up with a PowerPoint presentation. I mean, this is amazing. It's a great template to start. I know that us ladies that were in that group, we were all worried, like, how do we do this? How can we start? How can we create things? And it's already been done for us. So it's something that we can maybe modify and edit. This template for Read Aloud, we can actually present with our students. It has questions that we can ask them before we read. We could look at this, and then it gives an example of another teacher reading the story. We could actually take that out and do our own read aloud by using Get Epic and getting the book from there and reading to our own students. That would be a synchronized way of teaching the read aloud to them. Then it has the after reading. With this after reading, it also attaches to like an activity, and it brings up an activity through the drawing, the Google drawing. And I could show you that really quick. It's right here. And the good thing about this is that we can use any of our stories and put all these pictures in and use the same template, and the kids can actually go in there and we can do this activity along with them. And then for those who are really good with the computer and they can spell really well or write really well and they could figure it out, we could probably have them do this, and that would be the asynchronized portion of the read aloud. Or we can have them, go out and do the Flipgrid or comment through form, through Google Classroom. But this is a really great template to start, so we actually know what is expected from us when we are going to be doing the read aloud, the questions that we're going to ask the students.
Absolutely. Do me a favor, Cynthia. Can you go to stay in that document that you were in, the little graphic organizer? Can you go to tools for me up there at the top?
Yeah.
And okay, I'm sorry, it's not in there. I'll show you later. It's in Google Docs. There's a voice typing in the tools.
Oh, okay.
But yes, that's the nice thing. When these templates are created, you can change the story, change the content, and it's one less thing to create.
Right.
We had asked, and you're right, you can put yourself reading, you can read live and synchronous. You could read it to them on Monday and have them listen to this story on Thursday with somebody else reading it here.
Right. So where it has the sequence of events at the end of the slide, and I notice the slides are not long, so they're from maybe 2 to 5 slides that we can go through it with them really quickly. The longest part would be the read aloud, and everything else would be more engaging. We're going to talk about how we answer these questions. We're going to go through these activities together, and then there's a link, a YouTube link, that they can listen to the story again to do the activity on their own. So I'm really excited that this was created for us because I was kind of scared of how to start,
Awesome. And we really, we have these 4 weeks for you, and the idea, like, you can make them your own, but my own suggestion would be use as much of this as possible so you can start thinking about week 5, week 6, so you can be hunting down your students and giving them lessons on technology and meeting with parents and assessing them to find out what they know and all of those things that we need to get going. These are meant to buy you time. And you can also think of it as a grade level team. So you can take turns, assign a read. If you have 4 people in your team, take 4 read alouds and each teacher does 1. So think about ways to share your workload.
Yeah, that's great. There's one real quick thing that we noticed as a group, and I shared with the lady, is the ladies in the group were the how-to tutorials for kids. This right here would be great to do the first few days, and so that they can get an idea of how they can use the technology at home. If you
Absolutely.
If you explore that, you guys could pick and choose what you think would be best for your kiddos. But I thought that would be a great, first week of trying to get them feel comfortable with the different learning style that they're going to be entering this school year.
For sure, absolutely. And I see someone said the breakout sessions are a great way to conduct small groups. Absolutely. Yes. And they can't hear you talking to the group you're working with. So yeah, very nice. Thank you, Cynthia.
You're welcome.
And do I have a brave, we are going to skip, if you chose oven mitts, which is shared reading, we're going to skip you since we kind of went through that. So you lucked out. Do I have a brave person who found some lip balm? I know there were lots of you who can share their screen and show us what they found in writing. You will have access to multiple grade levels content. When you are looking at the week 2 read aloud, Julia's presentation, Be sure you're clicking on the underline word of the slides as opposed to the little sample, but I'll go ahead and check the sharing on that. I heard someone say breakout sessions are not great because you cannot monitor what they're doing or saying. I don't know if I would put my kids in a group to collaborate in a breakout room when they're younger, but you can always put them each in their own breakout room. So if I have a group of 6 and I want to send 12 people to a breakout room, I can make 12 breakout rooms and every kid can have their own. And then I can work with this group of kids and then I can send them in their own breakout room. And then I could call the students out of the breakout room that I have. So it's kind of like they're logged in, but maybe they're just doing something independently and you can't hear anything from each other, kind of like what you guys were doing. But collaborating in a breakout room, it is hard to support those students, those younger students. So. And then remember, you can always just have them log off to get off of a screen too, write in your journal. So, you know, take 20 minutes away from the screen. I'm going to have this, you know, go write in your journal and then come back and you're reading it. You guys will be reading it to me or something. Okay, so where's that volunteer for writing? This is me being patient. No volunteers? I bet you're muted. Unmute yourself if you're volunteering because we can't hear you. And so you're like all shouting out to try to volunteer, but no one can be heard. No one for writing? I'm going to tell Sarah no one wanted to look at her lessons.
Well, I will.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, but what I'm doing though is I have 2 laptops open here, so it wouldn't help to share my screen, I guess. You wouldn't see what I saw on the other, but I can share what it is.
Okay, yeah, tell me which one you're going to and I'll share my screen.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's week 2 for, and I love the underwriting. I pulled this off of the, this is the 5-star writing slide, and it was on the, it was on what good writers do.
Oh, okay.
And I love the 5-star writing guide so much. I'm going to make a big poster of that. And well, I know all these keep pulling this up to remind the students to access it. And even, you know, it'd be even something nice to give the students, even at the first, you know, when you meet them, give them this as like maybe even a little bookmark or something, just to, you know, keep handy and to refresh their memories about what they need to include in their writing as they review their writing.
Absolutely.
So yes, I just love that. That this is an awesome idea for a poster. You know, just a reminder slide all throughout the year. These kids need to be reminded of this because they just rush through their writing, and you know they don't take the time to go back and review what they've written carefully.
For sure, absolutely. I am going to. You're exactly right with the writing. Just kind of having just something so they can kind of check in with themselves and know how they're doing, reflect on their own writing. I did want to show you, I think the easiest place to show you is in the writing is on week 4. If we look at the lesson plan for the week 4 writing, actually, I'm going to let this load for a moment. But you can see the lesson plan here. And I just wanted to show you, these are what they teach. Week 1, You teach students to stay on topic. Week 2, we're going to talk about using complete sentences in your writing, but we're still going to talk about staying on topic. Week 3, we would layer in reading your own writing to make mistakes, and week 4, add description and writing in detail. So yeah, absolutely. And then the phonics is very similar. There are instructional videos. We are running out of time though, and I want to make sure we get to look at the scheduling. So I'm going to move us along a little bit here. And we're going to talk about independent reading quickly. I just want to give a plug for it. There aren't a lot of resources for independent reading. It's not like teaching, we're not building lessons for it, but we have a lot of resources. We did a PD on it in the spring. The slides for it here and all the resources are linked because we absolutely want to encourage our kids to read independently during this time through Mayan or Epic or whatever you use. With that being said, I'm going to take us to the scheduling site because I think it really helps bring everything together. And so when we look at the scheduling slide, we really thought about like time and the instructional minutes that are required. And we came up with this blank scheduling template that would include everything. If you click on it, it will ask you to make a copy. And this is really to kind of think about your day. So first thing in the morning, you're going to want to see your students live. This is SEL and Tech. You can give them a little lesson from one of those tutorials that Cynthia showed us. You can do your social emotional learning, circle time, toolbox, whatever you're teaching for SEL time, as well as the little tech, and also make sure everyone's checked in and has their tech ready to go. Then, you know, math is pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of like a lesson a day. For reading, we did go ahead and fill in what we thought, how you could fit in reading within a week and kind of hit all the parts of reading. And then ELD, you're talking about students' conversation, speaking. This would always be live. But remember, any of these things you've done in reading can become a lesson about language. And if you're teaching students how language works and to use language, then you are teaching ELD, so you can kind of maximize some of that time. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. And then here what we have is we have a second grade template. And so we really filled it in, besides the SEL and Tech, and besides just the beginning of ELD, we put the unit opener there. We went ahead and filled in slides like how we thought they should be. So we kind of worked together. And this is an example of what your week 1 could look like. This is a possibility. So what we'd like you to do now is go ahead and open it. Look at the lessons, look what's in here. You can highlight this lesson and say, you know what, I don't like that one, I'm gonna change it. You can take, you know, this revisiting the essential question and you can say, you know what, I'm not gonna do this on this day. I'm gonna do it, of course, my Zoom meeting is ruining my ability to cut and paste here. But I'm gonna take this lesson and I'm gonna cut it, and I think it would be better off over here on Friday. So you can go ahead and do that. And notice we have UA time for independent conferences. You can say, I want math at a different time of the day and move a whole row. However you want to customize this, but this is just here to help you kind of think about what a week could look like. You might change it 20 times before next week, but I want to give you about 10 minutes to kind of explore what the first week of second grade might look like, figure out what you want to keep, what you disagree with, what you're going to make your own, and just spend some time in this. I have a where is that page, so I'm going to go back here. This page is in week 1 of the website, but it's also right here. So if you want to click on it here, you can make a copy of that. If you are on like a phone and you have a hard time, I'll show you how to get there from the website. Grade level lessons, second grade, ELA. And right here it says week at a glance. So right here you have this. So take a few minutes, look at what they have, and then start to think, what do I want my first week to look like? And then also think about which lessons you would want to do live. In my personal opinion, all my shared writing would be live lessons. That's how I would like them to be. But really kind of think about that and what that could be like. And someone asked for the link to the presentation. I'll go back to the beginning and I'll type that in the chat. And I'll just give you guys a few minutes of independent time to explore that. I don't think we have 10 minutes to give to this, but I will give you about half that time. Okay, so I hope you had a few minutes to kind of get into that schedule and look at it. I hope it was helpful to you. Oh, I forget. I walked away from my table, so I have a mask on. I did have a question about ELD as far as grouping kids. I think that changes based on a school site because of how many you have. But if you, like you said, language, EL learners need to be taught language explicitly for 30 minutes a day. You may have more kids who need that too. So I would really, talk to your principal about that. All I can say is we have to teach our EL students language for 30 minutes a day. The how of that is what you can decide with your team and your principals. I have one last thing to show you. I tried to show you when Cynthia was sharing her screen, but it was a bad idea because we weren't in Google Docs. And so really, I just wanted to end with this quote, which says, whatever happens, it will be rocky and imperfect. We'll get it wrong before we get it right, and we'll have the opportunity to demonstrate the grace and flexibility and resilience and creativity we hope to build in our students. And, the righter we can get this, maybe our students will be more resilient and more independent at the end of this. There can be benefits. So with that, if you are in the presentation, you can click on this picture and it'll get you to something called text to talk practice. And you'll have to open your own copy. And when you get in there, the directions are here. So go ahead and try to follow those. This is your own document. We can't see it. But basically you can hit tools, voice typing, and then click the microphone and you can talk. Move your cursor where you want it. Okay, so I'm excited about using video read alouds when I have a substitute. Did you see how it typed for me? Oops. So that's one other method you can use with your kids when you want to collect something that could be an SEL tech lesson. So go ahead and give yourself a message. And again, where that was found, it was linked to this document here, which now will not move. It's right here. I can copy the link. And then when you got in there, the voice text is in tools. It says voice typing. So with that, I will put the link in the chat. Chrissy had to go. She's starting a 3 o'clock PD. So I'm going to wrap us up. I am going to give you, this slide has links to everything we used practically today. And then most importantly, we have our evaluation here. And there, I'm sorry, that is the link to the text to talk, the text typing document with the directions. Now I'm going to add the evaluation. Take a few minutes to fill that one out for us. And then I will, in just a moment, I will add the sign in, or the sign out, excuse me. Please remember to use this in order to get paid.
Stephanie, this is the link is for the ELA grade 1.
Oh, yes, because that's the link I have. Bear with me. That's okay, I'll open it and excuse me, I was thinking they had the same link. I should probably stop sharing my screen. Let's see, that's going to be a bunch of gibberish. And I will. I probably should have had you, since I can't seem to. Okay, I'm going to do this out of order here, but I have the sign out link because it was the one that showed up first. And then I'm going to, let's see. Is it? That one's hyperlinked, excuse me, and then I will find the link to the This is driving me crazy, Jen. Make less rows in this document so I can find. I have it now, I think. And then the last link I'm sending here is for the eval. There we go. Sorry about that. So the link, the first link is the sign out. The second link is the eval. If you can do me a favor and take the time to use both of those. Kathy, if you want to stay on a second, I think I might know why your books were different. I'm not sure, but if you want to stay on a second, I can try to look at that for you. And then after that, just have a wonderful year, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, likewise. Thanks.
Thanks.
I cannot see the links in the chat.
Tell her what is that for that sign out.
For the sign out.
I will go ahead and scroll up in the chat and do those again.
Thank you.
You?
This one is the eval, and then I will get the sign out. I just have to go back to a different document.
I don't see nothing. Do you see anything? From Jennifer. Yeah, but what is that? It hasn't gone up. Instead of
Yeah. That last one is for the sign out. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful year.
I don't see it in. I don't see it in the chat. Sorry. This is Cabrera. I don't see any of the one that you said you put in there.
Can you scroll down?
Can I scroll down? Let me see.
Now lots of people are saying thank you, so it's
No, I cannot scroll down. Tell her you have it. I have a Chromebook.
Okay,
but
let's see. There it is. It's go.bcsd.com/DQT.
DQT, that's for the sign out?
Yes.
DQT.
If this helps, when you look at the time, 2:49 is right above. Go to the first one that says 2:50. That's the one.
250. I cannot go down, see? No, the only one was 224. But you said DQT is for the sign out.
I know.
So I just leave the meeting.
No, don't leave the meeting. No, minimize it.
How can I minimize it? It's in the 250 something. 250. Okay. DT. That's for to go in. You got 250 something right here. DQT, that's for sign out. And then DQ key is for
I can't find my
evaluation.
the little like document at my bar that it shows.
Okay, I am going to, if you are here and you kind of want to see how to add a direct access link, and Kathy, I'll kind of show you what I think may be the difference in your books. I'm going to go ahead and go to benchmark curriculum. I'll share my screen and do my best to see if I can figure this out.
DQT, that's for the evaluation, for the sign out. No. I don't know. No. Sign out.
From the employee page, I'm going to go to my
DQT.
teacher portal for benchmark.
And
Right.
DQT for the other one. So I just go back to that.
Yeah, you can just do it if you want.
So leave the meeting.
You want to leave the meeting or?
What did you put in those?
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and log in.
Leave it like that so you can hear her. Open it up. And do the.
And this may not answer your question, Kathy, but it might help. I'll see.
Go. That. BCSD.
Sign up first. This is the money.
I'm gonna do unit 1 so we can kind of narrow this a little bit.
Okay, but we're skipping unit 1. We're not doing any of those books.
Okay, I can do unit 2. I was just going to show you an example of what the book would look like.
Okay, okay.
So
Go ahead.
when you're looking at them, are you talking about kind of this book that they get?
Yes, that is different from when you go online. Every once in a while, a couple of the words are different.
Okay.
From the book that the kids get versus online. And it was like the, and then the teacher's edition was slightly different.
Interesting. Okay, well, in first grade, we have 2 versions of these.
Yeah, there are a couple words here and there on a story, and like I would be reading and the kids would say, no, that it doesn't say that. And then I would look at their book and it was different.
So yeah, I'm sorry, I thought I could solve your problem because in first grade, there are 2 versions of this. There's one like the paper and there's one like the teacher, but in second grade, that is not the case. The only thing I can say is you can assign them this book.
Okay.
You can, if you click on this little wheel here,
right,
and you do create a link for direct access, you can link this into a slideshow or on your Google Classroom. Then when they open their book, it would be the exact same one, the digital version.
Okay.
So they can follow along on their screen. That's the only solution I have with that one.
That's new with the create a link for digital access, because in regular year, I could make the assignments by putting, the stories in, the assignment or the.
You can do that also. This is just a quick way to get it onto a Google Classroom rather than assigning it through Benchmark Universe. And yes, if you have filled everything out, you can go ahead and go. Thank you guys so much.
Okay. Okay. So that little, the gear, I can. Okay.
And you can do that, by the way, with anything with a gear. So you can do the guided reading books or whatever.
And then I can put that in Google Classroom, or I can make the assignment like we did during regular school.
Exactly.
Because from March till the end of the year, second graders didn't have computers, so I really couldn't do it. So, okay, thank you.
No problem. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave this meeting because I have the lovely Jennifer Castro Barnes coming in, and she's going to start a meeting, and there will be 2 microphones happening, and it will not be pleasant. So have a wonderful year, you guys, and email me if you need anything. Thank you.
Just do it anyways.
But I'm second grade.
Second.